Good morning, everyone. Your morning weather briefing for this July 24th finds that there are no major changes in the forecast versus what I presented yesterday. Temperature and rainfall outlooks this morning, and not a whole lot of changes in those outlooks. Still a clear lack of any heat in the forecast for the Corn Belt through the opening a few days of August. A lot of below normal temperatures in that period, especially as you go further west in the region. Rainfall chances for the 6 to 10 day time frame still favoring southern portion of the Corn Belt, while favoring more eastern and northern portions of the Corn Belt as we get into the 11 to 15 day period. QPF discussion for the 1 to 5 day time frame. I will consider this forecast as somewhat too wet, and that would be especially the case to the right of the line that I'm drawing on the map right there. I think that rainfall amounts in this period will be considerably less than shown in southwestern half of Iowa and into eastern Missouri, where I think that rainfall amounts in this period in those areas will be under a half inch. I do not have any disagreements though with those bigger rainfall amounts shown to the west of there across Nebraska, Kansas, and into eastern Colorado. For the day 6 to 7 time frame, I think that this rainfall map could actually be a little bit too dry, especially for a big portion of the hardwood winter wheat belt. I think that there could be still some fairly significant rains in that time frame for the Sunday Monday period of next week across Kansas and nearby areas. Should be a solid rainfall threat for the Sunday Monday time frame of next week in the mid south. Afternoon high temperatures yesterday, fairly mild conditions across the Corn Belt. Note the 70-degree high temperature readings yesterday in far eastern portion of the region. Temperatures did fall to some degree in the southern plains, but still plenty of 100 plus degree highs across a good portion of Texas outside of the central and northern portion of the Panhandle. 18-hour rainfall totals through 1 o'clock this morning, a very limited amounts anywhere in the middle of the country. Significant rains are confined to mainly eastern portion of the country during that time frame. You can see that on radar estimated rainfall as well. Some nice rains confined to eastern portions of the United States. Any rains in the Corn Belt confined to mainly central and eastern portion of Ohio, which is scattered very limited amounts in far western portion of the region. The radar early on this Tuesday remains very quiet in the middle of the country. Any rain still in just far eastern portion of the nation, with some isolated showers also in portions of the hard red winter wheat belt. The situation is going to be remaining quite dry in the middle of the country for at least another 4 days, right through Friday anyway. With regards to the Corn Belt, there will be a cool front diving southeastward across the Corn Belt for tomorrow and into Thursday. That'll give really anyone in the region a chance for rainfall, but it is all going to be very spotty in nature, leaving the bulk of the Corn Belt with nothing in the way of rainfall, even with the cool frontal passage for tomorrow and Thursday. Any sort of rains from that system will be mainly confined to the far north across Wisconsin and Minnesota, and into the far west across South Dakota, Nebraska, and into Kansas. The rest of the region will be seeing very limited rains, most places nothing at all, even for the even for the Wednesday, Thursday time frame of this week. The bulk of the Corn Belt will be completely dry for both today and again for Friday. Then as we get towards the weekend and into the early portion of next week, that will be when a more significant rainfall threat arrives in the Corn Belt. That'll be a system mainly affecting western and southern portions of the region. The rain threat in question will be lasting a little bit longer than what I suggested yesterday. This is a 500 millibar map for 7 o'clock in the morning on Monday. You can see that we still have an upper level low pressure system located in the Corn Belt at that time. So instead of the rainfall chances just for the weekend, it looks like those rainfall chances in the Corn Belt will be extending right through Monday of next week. If you look at the 5-day rainfall forecast from Friday night through late the day on Wednesday of next week, and you can see that the models in general are still in agreement that it would be a southern portion of the Corn Belt and into the mid-south that'll be favored for the rainfall for the period in question. Obviously, with the rainfall event in question, still a good 4 to 5 days away from getting initialized. There is some model differences on the details of the rainfall forecast, but in general, a model agreement that it will be southern portion of the Corn Belt and into the mid-south, as well as a good portion of the hard red winter wheat belt that will be favored for the rainfall for the system in question, again mainly for the weekend and into Monday of next week. If you're looking at the 10-day forecast as a whole, just like my forecast from yesterday, I am favoring the most limited rains, most likely under a half inch for the next 10 days across most of Iowa, Minnesota, Wisconsin, and into northern portions of Illinois. A temperature forecast details still a general lack of heat in the Corn Belt forecast through the opening few days of the month of August. You can see the temperature anomalies for your Tuesday, near to below normal temperatures across a big portion of the nation's midsection for this Tuesday, and a big heat still confined to a far southern portion of the Plain States into a good portion of Texas. As we get towards the latter portion of this week and into the early portion of next week, that is when the very coolest weather is going to be arriving. Sharply cooler temperatures in the northern plains for tomorrow, and then much cooler conditions across especially the western Corn Belt as we get through Thursday and into early portion of next week. Looking at a snapshot of temperatures for this Friday, still a lot of heat at that time in the far southern plain states, but note the below or even much below normal temperatures for Friday across a good portion of the central and western Corn Belt and into the central and northern plains. A big area there seeing temperatures on Friday averaging more than 10 degrees below normal. Longer term, as we get towards the 11 to 15 day time frame, looking at 500 millibar charts for the beginning of the 11 to 15 day period, no change, still a northwesterly flow aloft in the Corn Belt with a dome of high pressure in its normal summertime location in southwestern portion of the nation. I do see that dome of high pressure expanding somewhat as we get into towards latter portion of the 11 to 15 day period, but that dome of high pressure still in southwestern portion of the nation at that time, still a northwesterly flow in the Corn Belt at that time. Overall, that temperature pattern at that time would clearly be warmer than what we will see for the very end of this month and into the early portion of August. And that, I think, would be a warmer weather pattern that would also be bringing some better rainfall chances into more northern portion of the Corn Belt as we see the storm track or the jet stream lifting further northward for middle and latter portion of the 11 to 15 day time frame. I think that would probably be indicative of better rainfall chances towards more northern portion of the Corn Belt as well. Again, that weather pattern at that time with the jet stream lifting further northward, that would be indicative of some warmer temperatures probably arriving for latter portion of the 11 to 15 day time frame as well. Temperature anomalies from the ensemble forecast from August 6th. You can see that to some degree the GFS ensemble, but to more the case the Canadian ensemble and even the European ensemble, indicating a return to some above normal temperatures in the Corn Belt at that time. So very limited in the way of heat in the Corn Belt, mostly below or even much below normal temperatures for about the first 3 to 4 days of August. But by the time we get to August 5th, 6th, and 7th, probably we'll be seeing a return to some above normal temperatures across the Corn Belt region. Looking at international weather on your Tuesday, near to mostly below normal rainfall across the summer row crop areas of the former Soviet Union for the next 2 weeks. Some additional quarter to 3/4 inch rainfall amounts there for the next couple of days. Then probably very limited rains or even nothing at all across most of the summer row crop areas of the former Soviet Union for Thursday through the rest of the 10-day forecast, and generally below normal rainfall for the 11 to 15 day time frame as well. Mostly above normal temperatures across the summer row crop areas of the former Soviet Union for the next 2 weeks as well. Over in Europe, some very nice rain still going to be falling for the next 2 weeks for those major corn growing areas of southeastern Europe. They have had a fantastic growing season so far, and they look to be continuing to see wonderful weather coming up as well. Cannot say the same thing though for western portion of Europe, where below normal rainfall is indicated there for the next 2 weeks. In fact, mostly dry conditions for the rest of this work week period across a good portion of Germany, France, and into southern England. Looking at mostly above normal temperatures across Europe for the next 2 weeks. No more will that be the case for initially for later on this week. Look at your high temperatures as we get towards Thursday, an extensive area of 90+ degree heat for Thursday across France and into neighboring areas. Probably we'll be seeing similar temperatures there for Friday, and again some 90+ degree heat in Western Europe as we finish up the 6 to 10 day time frame. For the spring grain areas of the former Soviet Union, very limited rains in the west, but near to above normal rainfall in the central and east. Note that those central and eastern areas already saw some nice rains yesterday, and they will be seeing more nice rains during the next 10 days. Also going to be seeing a notably cool air mass entering especially western portion of the growing area for the first portion of next week. Over in China, I wanted to first of all note that the remnants of Tropical Storm 12W has, as expected, brought some very big rains to eastern portion of the North China Plain over the last 24 hours. The remnants of that storm system will continue to be moving eastward, northward, and then northeastward in the near term, bringing some nice rains for today through about Thursday, through about western portions of the Manchurian growing area. Other than that, looking at fairly limited rains for the duration of at least the 10-day forecast for both the North China Plain and into Manchuria. So if you're looking at additional rains for the corn and soybean areas of China, most of it will be occurring during the next 3 days from the remnants of Tropical Storm 12W in Manchuria. The rest of the 10-day forecast looking quite dry, mostly above normal temperatures across the corn and soybean areas of China for the next 10 days to 2 weeks. That'll be equating to all sorts of 90 to localized 95 plus degree high temperatures on most days across especially the North China Plain. It is not a wet forecast for the Canadian prairies, mostly below normal rainfall there for the next 2 weeks. For the next 10 days, especially limited rains across southeastern Alberta into a big portion of Saskatchewan and into southwestern Manitoba. Near to below normal rainfall in winter wheat areas of Australia for the next 10 days. A lot of the near normal rainfall that is going to be seen there is mainly going to be falling in the near term, where some relatively decent rains will be falling in the near term for portions of the wheat areas of Western Australia, South Australia, and into Victoria. Finishing things up for your Tuesday, the monsoon in India looks unchanged. Below normal rainfall for the next 2 weeks across southern portion of India. Much better rains to the north, especially in southeastern Rajasthan and into the major soybean growing areas of Madhya Pradesh. That's what I have for your Tuesday. Everyone have themselves a great day.